Okay, so video this week, I am recording it right after I did my AMA on KIA. A couple people I mentioned I was doing that. What the letter? What? AA? AMA, Ask Me Anything on KIA, Kotaku in Action, which is the Gamergate subreddit. I think they say the almost official Gamergate subreddit. I don't know. No, it is the official Gamergate subreddit now. And this is treated by some as to be the wretched hive and villainy, like the Mos Eisley Cantina. A lot of people are like, why are you doing this? All the good people left a long time ago, all these things. And I'm like, what happened was a Patreon patron asked me if I'd consider it, and I told him that back in the day, I'd been discussing it with one of the other moderators, and that moderator went. Went his or her separate ways with the board, and so the thing just sort of fell by the wayside. That I was willing to do it. There was just a few things I wanted to make clear, and I wanted to clarify with the moderators based on limits and everything like that. Because to me, I'm very literal about these things. Ask me anything means ask me anything, and my big concern was that people would start getting into some of the things that people went after my family and all that stuff, and I don't want to discuss family stuff. I think the best thing to do is just to leave family mostly out of things, so that people don't, you know, go after them. My family should not have their internet and presence activity be made less pleasant because of me, and what I do. So the moderators were actually really great. We had a lot of back and forth discussion about it beforehand. We got some certain basic facts squared away. They asked for verification on certain things. I provided evidence on certain things. They're like, okay, fine, this checks out. And we did that beforehand. It turns out we didn't need to, but we did. So because I said I want there to be an understanding on the basic facts of certain things. So if it does come up, I know that you guys know what the actual background is, because arguing things in that forum, it just doesn't really make sense, right? And it ended up being a really super productive discussion. I'll switch over to the screens and I'll see you a little bit. But you'll note that a lot of the questions were, pretty multi-part. The funniest thing that happened was I was introduced to something called Sonichu. I didn't know what Sonichu was when this Redditor asked this question. I had to look it up. This is Sonichu. This is a really deep well, and my husband came by while I was doing the AMA, and I had the image search, this sort of thing, up on the screen while it was going on, and he was like, "What is that?" And I said, "That is Sonichu." And he said, it looks like Pika. Is this one of these things I just shouldn't know about?" And I said, "Yeah, probably." And he went back about his merry way. So that was pretty funny. So there were some light moments too. Somebody said something about feminism as a fashion statement, and I cracked a joke on that. I'm sure I'll get in trouble for this at some point, but I'm trying to find it here. Here it is. I switched back. I said, how long until normies give up feminism as a fashion trend and it goes back to being just for feminine nerds and insane people? I said, feminism isn't a very nice fashion trend in my opinion. It's a lot of bad haircuts, ill-fitting clothes, and permascals, end joke. So there were some moments of brevity in this AMA, but it predominantly was a lot of challenging questions. And what I really appreciated is there seemed to be real knowledge of subject. Like, people knew my positions, and they got into specific details of certain things I'd seen asked for clarification going quite a way back, but they actually questioned me on specific points of things I'd brought up in past videos, which means they'd watched them. And that's good. I mean, I really appreciate that. It's always good to talk to people who are sort of aware, at least in cursory terms, of what you do. But it was more than cursory. They knew details, right? I mean, the dork side came up a lot, which is, that makes me happy. But, the one thing that I thought was a really interesting question is somebody asked me why feminism was necessary. And I said, I'm not sure I come at it that way. I think feminism's beneficial, but necessary. I called that idea deep philosophical hole. And you'll see from this scene, it's quite a lengthy answer. And the interesting, somebody asked, it was the same person, said, at what point does feminism stop being a push for equality, instead become a hammer in search of the nail? And I answered the question, but I think it's, really important that people have the opportunity to ask these questions and be heard, and have this question be treated as valid. Because, yeah, I mean, I would think if I was somebody that had, bad experiences with, Tumblrina feminism, I'd want that question answered. I mean, these are totally fair and valid questions. And I mean, people describe certain things as hardball questions. And I'm like, hardball? This is like, this is nothing. This is, this is, if this is a hardball question, then this is going to be a piece of cake, And overall, I thought it was a very positive experience. And I wanted to make this video saying it was a positive experience, because it seems like this board has something of a bad reputation that I continue to not entirely understand. Like, yes, some stuff has happened, and the whole Gamergate thing is just, oh, Voldemort. And it's really not Voldemort. It's more like Shrek. Everybody thought Shrek was an ogre and therefore automatically bad, but, Shrek's pretty cool when you start to learn Shrek, and, he can be an all right dude. They asked, one Redditor asked me what I thought of KIA, and I was honest. I gave them the positive and the negative, and there wasn't a big uproar. It wasn't a big freak out. They accepted the answer. There were some follow-up questions, and some I wish I'd been able to get to more of them. It was a 2-hour block. I ended up going for 2.5 hours, and I mean, they were challenging questions. That's not the same as saying they were hardball questions. They were challenging questions in a very good way. And I think that, this experience, I think a lot of people have dismissed this group because they look at some of the content and it seems very, I'll say, internet-y, like just a lot of slang terms and things phrased in ways people don't phrase them, and words used that people don't use. And I think that can scare a lot of people off and make, individual commenters seem a lot more aggressive than they really are. And, maybe the people that post that stuff on a regular basis weren't especially interested in participating in an AMA with me. Whatever. I just know that this was I think, a very positive exchange of ideas. And I want to say this because, the official record has to, give people crap when they screw up, but also reward them when they do well. And I think it's important to note that, there are the occasional Jedi hiding in the Mos Eisley Cantina. Like sometimes they do go in. And I went through and I sort of read the rules, and I'm like, because I admit I am not a skilled user of Reddit. I keep forgetting that the upvote points are in little gray font next to the name. And it's I'm like, okay, I was told the higher up something is, the better scored it is, but the comments are not. It takes a while to understand the structural language of Reddit, and I admit I am absolutely not an expert. So I went through and I like read all the rules and everything like that. And I mean, one of the big questions I was asked was, about the idea that Gamergate created the alt right, which created Trump and all that stuff. And I mean, I was around for Gamergate. And I was like, no, like Gamergate wasn't even an alt right thing. It had a, you know, what exactly did I say? I said the alt right squatted on the controversy. Let me show you my answer here. Here's my question. I said, you know, I was around for Gamergate, so I know damn well that Gamergate wasn't even an alt-right thing. Never mind creating the alt-right. The alt-right squatted on the controversy, and I believe severely damaged gamers' ability to be heard and then taken seriously before turning its sights on bigger political trophies. The media made correlation into causation. And then you see the Sonichu, right, behind, and you'll see my answer about the cuck problem. I said, what exactly is the cuck problem? Before the last couple years, I thought cuck was something you said to kids during potty training, like, do you need to cuck? I honestly didn't know. So I find that with things like this, just kind of being honest and not trying to seem more of an authority than you actually are, the best way to do it. But like I said, I just wanted to make this video to announce to the world that you can have a discussion with Kotaku in Action as a feminist, and it can be very, very productive and very respectful and very informed. And this tells me that this is a group of people that care, and they were very excited to hear about, the upcoming projects I talked about and things like that. So that's all really good. They said I'm really interested in the what I talked about the first episode of Lady Bits, the upcoming show that I'm going to be doing a campaign for in the spring. And I talked about the fact that the first episode is going to be, is the modern Lara Croft more feminist than classic Lara Croft? And they were very interested in this. So, I think that this is an indicator that we really need to be more nuanced about our opinions regarding groups and people on the internet. And we spent a lot of time talking about unpopular views and how, to have unpopular views of losing your whole audience and all that stuff. So I'll put a link to it if you want to go through and read it. They were, very elaborate answers a lot of the times, and going back to it, they really made me think. And I think this is really good. And they asked about Loki because they felt like the cats got too much attention. So I will try to do more Loki content from now on. Like, okay, people want to see the dog more. The dog isn't going to mind. So I'll do more Loki stuff. But thanks. This is me being honest about my experience. And so thanks to the people who participated, and a lot of guests watch this stuff. So, yeah, all's well that ends well. Good stuff. See you on Feedback Friday. Patrons, see you tomorrow.